Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marcia covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marcia Teele, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Caregiver Solution Info Show. So happy to have you with us tonight. We have another wonderful program. So if you're a caregiver, if you're a spouse, maybe an adult child, maybe a granddaughter, grandson, and someone that has problems like dementia, Alzheimer's disease, some type of problem that a person cannot take care of themselves. It's very difficult knowing what to do, how to do it, when to do it. So much is at stake. But tonight we're going to have a lot of great information about the pros and cons of what a caregiver can do. Now, hopefully you know that when you become a caregiver, you have options. People can stay at home. They can be by themselves. You can check on them. You can have them live with you. You can live with them. They can have help at home where someone else that you've hired takes care of them. Or, in most cases, there are some people that just say, I can't do any of that, and they check into an assisted living. Sometimes maybe even independent living and then assisted living and then memory care. So you do have options, and there are quite a few options that people can look at. But there's always pros and cons to those options. So today we're going to be talking about one of the problems that older people suffer when they get dementia or when they have a physical problem and they are challenged with their balance, with walking, getting around, and that problem is they can fall. A lot of people obviously fall. They don't see well. They didn't see the curb. They step off of a step. Sometimes it's because of their sight. Sometimes it's because of their cognition. They don't really recognize that there's a step there or there's a hole there, and they don't see it because their brain can't tell their feet not to go that way. And there's lots of reasons why people fall. Maybe their balance is off. Maybe they have a Parkinsonian type of dementia and they're not walking very well and they're shaky. Lots of reasons why people fall. It could be their blood pressure. It could be off. It could be a combination of medications that are not working well. They maybe have had just a new medication and they don't know the side effects of it yet. Lots of reasons why people fall. As a matter of fact, they say that once a person falls, it's very easy to break a hip if they're older. Sometimes people break a hip and then fall. Sometimes they fall and break a hip. So it's like the chicken or the egg, which one comes first, because either one can really happen. So we're going to talk about falls, and we're going to talk about a lot of ways to prevent falls. And with me today is an expert because she has been in the field of helping people prevent falls for 25 years. Her name is Pam Hapke, and she's with me here in the studio. And Pam is the director of the Easy Living Medical Alert, LLC company. Hi, Pam. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Marcia. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, I'm so excited that you're here because this is a topic that needs to be talked about more, a lot of things to be brought to people's awareness. Falling is very common, like we just talked about, in the elderly, with people with dementia, but it doesn't have to be a death sentence, right?
Right. It's a leading cause of injuries for seniors, falls. So one of the things I've been doing for over 25 years now is helping people find a medical alert system.
Okay, so medical alert, I think a lot of people are familiar. There's been TV commercials in the past, and help, I've fallen, I can't get up, and and what do you do when you're down? And unfortunately, I knew someone for many, many years, and that last year she was 96 years old.
Wow.
And she actually lived alone. She didn't have dementia, but she lived alone, and she fell, and she could not get up, and she could not get to a telephone. And when her family kept calling to check on her, they got no answer. But there was no family that lived very close by. And so they lived at least an hour away. Some of them lived 2 hours away. And they kept calling and calling. And she could not reach the landline, and her cell phone was not with her. And so soon the family got so worried that by the time they figured out that she wasn't going to be answering, they drove, and by the next day they got there and called the ambulance. They came and took her to the hospital, but she did not survive her fall.
Oh, dear.
And it was so, so sad. And so in a case like what I just described, it would have been probably a lifesaver that she would have a medical alert to let somebody know that she had fallen.
Right.
And you've been helping people for 25 years in this business. And so you're an expert with the pros, the cons, the ins and outs, the differences. So today I'd like to explore that and show everybody what's available, what are the differences between different devices, because it's not one size fits all, right?
Right. There's a lot of options today.
Yeah, and that is so important for people to not only know about them, but know about the options and be more educated before they just decide to just go out and get one, because it might be that one is better for them than another one. So in general, I know you this is like show and tell today. You have brought some of the pendants and some of the medical devices with you. So I'm just going to let you tell us about it and go through what you have, and we'll start with that big one there, and then we'll go down the line, and we'll go and talk about all of these things that people know. So
Sure.
In general, what is the sole purpose of having a life alert?
The whole purpose is to have something that you wear, that you always have with you, and if anything happens, you just push the button and you're all set. And it gets you help. Whether even if you can't speak, it'll get you help. So that person won't be laying on the floor for hours or days. And unfortunately, there's some people that haven't even survived because of that.
Like the one I
So,
just talked about, yeah.
And sometimes there's nobody to get help. So the medical alert is there for you to get help. And the quicker you get help, the more likely it is that you'll be able to go home. So that's the whole purpose of it. And this started years ago. Both my grandmothers actually had a system, thank goodness. And originally you needed a landline. You had to plug in a little base unit, and they actually were probably about double this size originally
Big
years
ones.
ago. Great big ones. And then you wear a pendant. So typically people wear it around their neck. A small pendant. They're waterproof or water resistant. You can wear it in the shower. So if anything happens, all you need to do is push that button, sends a signal to a base unit, and it dials the monitoring center. And then somebody talks to you through the base unit. If you cannot talk to them, they'll try to call you by phone. If not, then they'll call for help. Now, some people don't want the paramedics immediately called. They want either a neighbor or family member called, so they can do that as well. I have hospice patients that don't want paramedics called. We call hospice. So we set up a protocol for each person based on what their needs are. So family members can get a call if anything happens, whether they're local or not. And they know right away if somebody's taken to the hospital. So they can help with whatever their needs are. And today, there's so many more options. There's what's called a fall alert, that if you fall, this will call for you. It detects about 95% of falls.
So you don't have to
Push the button.
push a button, Because if you do fall, what if you fall and hit your head and it knocks you out? Then you're not able to push a button.
Correct.
Or in some cases, what if somebody fell and they fell forward and they fall on top of their button or their pendant, and maybe they can't reach it. Maybe they can't get underneath themselves to push it. So that would be good for a situation like that.
And I actually have, I had one lady that had seizures. And if something happened, she would typically fall, and she had a 2-year-old, and certainly the fall alert was helpful for her because she wouldn't be able to push the button. But she also taught her 2-year-old that if mommy falls down, I want you to push the button.
A 2-year-old.
A 2-year-old.
So
she trained.
So this is so simple to use that a 2-year-old can do it.
Yep.
Wow.
And I did have one lady, I've never had too many situations, but I had one lady whose bed was very close to the wall, and she actually fell between the bed and the wall, and she couldn't push the button. So, and she didn't have a fall alert initially, but it took her a little while to wiggle around, but in about 15 minutes she said she was able to push her button.
Yeah.
But so there's a lot of different reasons to do it.
Wow. Okay. This is very interesting. I don't know why I'm so excited about it because I don't have a problem with falling, but I know a lot of people do. And I'm so excited to learn about this and share with everyone. But we're going to take a quick commercial break first, and we're going to be back in just a moment with more from Pam Hapke on Medical Alert. So we'll be right back.
Feelings of depression, isolation, and frustration are common among persons living with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's common among those who care for them, too. It takes a lot of patience and courage. It also takes knowing when you can no longer do it alone. At Arden Courts, memory care is all we do. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Don't let guilt keep you from making the right decision. Visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines.
You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Welcome back to Caregiver Solutions Info Show. My guest today is Pam Hapke. Pam is the director of the Easy Living Medical Alert Company. It's LLC, and she's been doing this for 25 years. She's an expert on helping people learn how to be safe using a medical alert device, and she's brought several of them with us. We're talking about how they work and some that are better than others. So the first one you showed us, you push a button, fall down, push a button, calls whoever you want them to call. Family, the police, the paramedics, whoever you want, okay? But you have several others. What are the differences?
Well, today, so many people have gotten rid of their landlines.
Yes.
Telephones. So a lot of the companies have created a cell-based system, and it can be used just for the home, or they've created systems that will go out with them, so you can take it with you outside of your house. A lot of people walk to the mailbox, take a little walk, which is good for seniors, and some people travel. I have a lot of clients that go back and forth up north and spend part of the time in Florida, and they will take it with them.
So wherever they go, it goes, and they're still protected,
yes,
no matter what, because it's based off of like satellite, cellular,
yes. Cellular and GPS. So if somebody just wants it for the home, if they don't go out by themselves, you can just get, now if you don't have a telephone line, you can just get a cell-based service. You still wear a pendant, a regular pendant, or you can wear the fall alert pendant with the cellular service as well, or you can get what's called a mobile system, and I'm wearing one.
Have it around your neck.
This is, the pendant's a little bigger because it has the cell service, it has GPS all built in, and it has an optional fall alert as well, if somebody wanted the fall alert built into the GPS system. So these systems not only work in the house, you can take it shopping, take it for a walk, travel with it. It won't work in Europe, but it'll work throughout the country, anywhere in the country, as long as there's cell service where you are locally.
So that one does it all.
This one does it all. So obviously these systems are a little more expensive than the traditional system, but there's a lot of different options for people. And so many people are more active as they get older today. So this makes a great option for them.
Now, one of the pros and cons, well, the pro of wearing one is obviously it's going to get you help when you need it.
Absolutely.
But both you and I know of people who had one, but they weren't wearing it when they fell. And the problem is that sometimes people don't wear their pendants. And I want to talk about that a little bit because it has happened. They have them, they don't wear them, they fall, they're in trouble. Why aren't they wearing the pendants? That's the big question.
A couple reasons. One is people are very independent and they think they don't need it. A lot of times the children are the ones that are ordering these systems for their parents. I did it for mine. And a lot of times they don't want somebody else to see it. It's that sense of pride in being, independent and still healthy. And then they just don't like the way they look or they're uncomfortable. You have an option of wearing it around your wrist or your neck on most systems. So it really depends. The newer systems, the wrist pendant looks more like a Fitbit, kind of.
Okay.
So it's a little less obtrusive. And actually, the Apple watches now have a lot of fitness things built in.
And they're huge.
They're huge,
Yes.
but they have fall alerts built into it. And you can actually, if you have an iPhone, you can talk on your Apple Watch. So technology has advanced so much that there's so many options for people out there.
Well, I know what you're saying when you talk about people don't want others to know that they're wearing this, because I've had customers say, oh, well, my mom really should use her walker, but she's too vain. And she doesn't want to use the walker because she doesn't think, that, first of all, she needs it.
Right.
But she also doesn't want other people to think that she needs it. And so it's a problem because she's vain. So the daughter blinged up the walker and literally just made it so sparkly and attractive and made it such a cool thing that the mother finally wanted to show it off because everybody loved it. So could someone bling up their little medical alert in the same way?
You could put little crystals or colors all over it. They actually, for a while, sold little stickers that you could put on, like leopard stickers, tiger stickers, zebra stickers, or colors. So that's an option. There's a lot of things you can do if you really want to. I put these on gold chains for people because they feel it's more like jewelry. They just tuck it behind their blouse and somebody thinks they have a gold chain on and they don't even realize
Yeah,
that
I was
they're
going to say
wearing
you
it.
don't have to wear it on the outside. You
no.
can, if you need it, you can whip it out and push the button, or in the case
Right.
of the ones that you don't have to push the button, it's still
You
going to
fall-
work whether it's inside your blouse or outside.
Right.
Wow.
So that's what I recommend to a lot of people that don't want people to see it.
Okay. Now, price, because, sometimes things are priceless. They're invaluable if they're going to save a life.
Yes.
And so I know sometimes people are considering it, but they might think maybe it's too expensive, or maybe they think it is, but they really don't have an idea. Can you talk a little bit about a range of prices and,
Sure.
and how much it would cost to implement something like this? Is there a contract involved? Is it paid for monthly, or how does that work?
Sure. Pricing, it typically starts at $25 a month. It's a month-to-month service typically. with my program, there's no long-term contracts. If somebody needs to cancel it in a month, they cancel it.
Okay.
I don't limit anybody for that. I recommend, I have with Mobile Help, one of my two companies that I work with, we bill on a quarterly basis. So if for any reason you had to cancel it, let's say you had it for 6 months and you went into the next month and you didn't need it any longer, you could cancel it. The equipment is all sent back to the company, and they would refund you the difference.
Wow, that's
So
fair.
yeah, there's no long-term commitment.
And no penalty for stopping it if you had to.
No
for
penalties.
some reason.
There are some companies that do have long-term contracts. That's why I won't work with anybody that does. But from a basic price of $25 up to about $45, $50 for systems that are mobile, that have GPS, they have fall alert. Possibly there may be a husband and wife. So there's Mobile Help has a dual system. So you can either get a home system and one mobile system. So when they go out, they can take the mobile with them. They both have their own pendants that they can wear. Or maybe they have two mobiles that work. And the husband is one place, the wife is another place.
Right.
So maybe she's playing cards and he's playing golf. Who
Okay.
knows? So they can both have a mobile system. So it really, the range is kind of from $25 to $50 max on a monthly basis.
And, if you think about it, that seems like a small price to pay for having peace of mind, especially if someone's elderly and they have health problems. I think it's amazing that the fall alert lets people know that you've fallen and you don't have to push a button. But you said it works most of the time. Is there any instance where it might not work?
It works. The fall alerts work on algorithms, and it works on several things. It will take a vertical to a horizontal change, impact, or acceleration. Like if you fall, the pendant goes down faster. It's not moving slowly. So a combination of those three things, impact, acceleration, and changes in horizontal to vertical or vice versa, will cause it to go off.
Okay.
And it works about 90 to 95% of the time, so it's pretty accurate. I had one gentleman who we set up the fall alert for because the daughter thought that would be great for him, but he would plop down on his chair every day when he sat down to watch TV. So it would go off every day. And I told him, just tell them that you're fine, that you didn't fall. But it irritated him so much he didn't want to wear it.
Because they were always calling him.
Because every day. So we ended up switching to a traditional pendant. So I don't necessarily recommend the fall alert unless it's something that they truly need, that they're either high risk or my dad had Alzheimer's. I used a fall alert pendant for him because he wouldn't know to push the button.
Right.
And he's diabetic and would fall a lot. So
Right.
with those type of situations, it'll help.
So in that case, when you're working with a family, you're going to find out what their particular situation is to find out which alert is best for them.
Absolutely. So it depends. Are they alone? Is it a couple? Are they together all the time? Do they go out with anybody else, or do they go out independently of each other? So you have to look at all those different aspects of their life to try to suggest the best option for them.
So what about working, you mentioned earlier, most of them are water resistant. Does that mean you can wear them in the shower?
Absolutely.
What about a pool?
The waterproof ones, these you can.
Oh,
You
so
can
they
still wear it
actually-
in a pool.
Okay, so they have waterproof.
Right.
Because here in South Florida, a lot of people
Have
out by
pools.
the pool. And what if somebody stumbled and fell into the water? First of all,
Absolutely.
it'd have to be waterproof so it would work. And second of all, it's going to be the fall one because it's going to show a change in position, right? Okay, so, don't.
I haven't tried falling in a pool, so with the fall alert, I don't know.
See, you get to test them out now. Yeah, see what works. I think it's awesome. Now, how long does it take once someone decides that they want to get one? Did they get shipped to them directly, or how does that work?
If somebody's in South Florida, in basically the
Tri-County?
Tri-County area, I have an installer that will set it up for them. I provide that free of charge. So all they need to do is when they call for information, we try to determine which service will be best for them, and then we'll set it up. Usually it takes anywhere from 2 to 5 days, depending on their schedule, the installer's schedule.
But you sell these to people all over the country.
All over the country, and the newer systems, the mobile systems, are so easy. You basically are plugging in a charger and testing it. So you really don't even need an installer.
Okay.
So, and there's 800 number support for if anybody has any questions. We set up the protocol based on their situation, family members. If a family member wants to be notified whether they're local or not, we set that up.
Okay. And if people are living in an independent living or a regular assisted living, I would imagine those would be allowed there too, because it helps the staff be alerted to falls also.
Absolutely, and typically the first call is going to go to whoever
The
at
nurse
the
on
facility.
duty, yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's a good thing
And
too.
they go check on them right away.
Yeah,
So
good. Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Pam's going to share another part of her life besides working with Easy Living Medical Alert and being the director and helping people. She's also the daughter of a parent with Alzheimer's disease, and she's going to be sharing her story regarding that. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Welcome back to Caregiver Solutions Info Show. This is the time where I'd like to thank our national sponsor, Arden Courts Memory Care. Arden Courts is a leader when it comes to memory care communities. They have over 50 memory care assisted livings in the United States. Arden Courts is there to help you with your loved one and to help you as a caregiver. Today, because you're tuning in to this show either on the iHeartRadio app or on local Southeast Florida radio or on the website, caregiversolutions.info, you are allowed to have this book absolutely free because we want to give it to you. If you are in need of education, if you know someone who's a caregiver that doesn't have this book, it's called The 36-Hour Day, written by Dr. Peter Rabins and Nancy Mace. It's an awesome resource for caregivers. And the book is yours absolutely free just because you are watching the show. If you would like to have your own copy of this book mailed to you, all you have to do is send an email, and that email address is delray@arden-courts.com. Again, Delray, D-E-L-R-A-Y, at Arden, A-R-D-E-N, -courts, C-O-U-R-T-S.com. Just tell them that you heard about the offer on the Caregiver Solution Info Show. Email them your name, address, and telephone number, and they'll be very happy to mail a book directly to you. So I highly recommend this. It's full of information, advice, descriptions, differences in different kinds of dementia, but it does focus on caregiving and the dementia world, and it really is a great resource. So get yours today or get it for somebody else. Again, send an email to delray@arden-courts.com. So my special guest today is Pam Hapke. She's the director of the Easy Living Medical Alert Company, and she's located here in South Florida. And her company sells to families all across the United States. And she's located here in South Florida. Before we get too far into all of this, Pam, because we're going to switch gears here in a second, but I do want to give you an opportunity to let everybody know if they heard all about the medical alert devices that you sell, maybe they have questions, maybe they're interested in checking it out further, how can they contact you?
Sure, you can contact me. The easiest way is my phone number. This is my cell, so I carry it with me. 561-716-2682.
Okay, 561-716-2682. You can call Pam directly, ask her about the different devices. If I were you, I'd be wearing one of those all the time because it's good advertisement. And of course, if you fall, you're going to get help, right? So thank you for sharing all about the medical alerts. Very interesting, very helpful for families. And speaking of family, you have your own situation with elderly parents, and you were actually on the show maybe 7 years ago when your mom was still with us, and I know since then she's passed, and I'm sorry about that, but you're still having to help take care of your dad. Yes. So tell us about the situation and where you're at right now, being an adult child, being involved in the caregiving of someone with Alzheimer's.
Sure. And just so you know, my dad was diagnosed almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
It's a really, really long time.
Yes.
Alzheimer's.
Yes.
We didn't anticipate he would be around this long, and I actually thought my mom would outsurvive him. But she had Parkinson's and went downhill so much faster. I remember when they first started needing a little help, my mom was extremely resistive. I dragged them around to several beautiful independent living facilities to show them what they could get. I said, it's almost like living in a hotel being on vacation. My mom was dragging her feet. My dad walked in and started talking to people. He's very social, so he had a great time. But she absolutely did not want to go into a facility. And she said, I want to stay at home. I don't care how you handle it, but I want to stay at home. And I said, Mom, if that's what you want, that's what I'll do. And so
and you lived close by them, right?
Well, they lived in Chicago at the time. I moved to Florida. My mom had always talked about moving to Florida. So I actually bought an apartment and got them to come down and stay for a while and see how they liked it, and they fell in love with it.
Good.
So it took...
Better for you.
It took actually 3 years of trying to get them to clean out their house up north and sell it. I hired a care manager to help them. My mom was still resistive, so actually my brother and I went through the house ourselves to clear it out and get them moved to Florida permanently. So they live about probably 5 to 10 minutes away from me. So we bought a house in a senior community. It was free golf. My dad loved to play golf, and unfortunately, with Alzheimer's, he really, little putting, a few rounds, and that the first year or two, and that was it. He's just
lost the ability.
Can't comprehend it. So, but we started with a caregiver a couple days a week, and my mom actually enjoyed it because she was very helpful.
Oh, she liked the caregiver.
She liked the caregiver.
Now,
and
that's
she's
usually where they
Exactly.
will put their foot down and balk about it because she didn't want to go into a place,
Yep.
but she didn't mind someone coming into her home.
Well, she liked the caregiver that was selected for her, and she asked her, because I was on vacation at the time, and I said, you got to have somebody to help because I can't be here. So she asked her if she could come a few extra days. So they went from 2 days a week to 4 days a week. So when I got home, we talked, and she seemed to enjoy it, and I think she felt like she was living like a queen, having somebody kind of cook dinner for her
Wait on
and
her hand and
help
foot.
her do the laundry.
Yeah, who wouldn't like that, right?
So anyways, they ended up going to 5 days. And then slowly but surely, as Dad got worse, she couldn't handle it either. So we got more and more care.
So with your mom having the Parkinson's, your dad having the Alzheimer's, they really couldn't even help each other after a point.
No. It took a couple years of more hours, to the point where somebody had to be there 24 hours a day.
So when you went to get help for your parents, being in the healthcare industry, you probably knew a little bit about different companies and how to choose. But looking back, how would you think that a family that's not in the business, how hard would it be for them to just we don't even use phone books anymore, but open up a phone book and just put your finger on something, because there's literally hundreds and hundreds of different companies.
The best way I would recommend is try to get referrals from other people that are using healthcare that they know and trust, if possible. Even being in the business, I must have hired initially about 6 different companies and tried aids from those companies before we found one that we were happy with.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. You said your mom liked the girl, but it probably wasn't the first person.
No, it wasn't the first person.
And that's really important for people to know, because you hire somebody, sometimes it's not going to be a fit. It's not going to just be it's going to be a personality, or something's going to be quirky. It's not going to fit. So in your case, you did go through several people before you found the right one, and that's important.
Yep.
And I'm glad that you share that, because people should not be afraid
Right.
to say, look, this person isn't working out.
Absolutely. And I actually tried to hire somebody that would play golf with my dad.
Oh.
And so we hired somebody, and all he did was talk about himself, which really irritated my dad. So he only lasted about 2 weeks. But they did get a little golf in, so at least that was okay. But, you have to, it's trial and error. And as time goes on, we're lucky to have a lot of the aides that have been there 7+ 10 years now.
They're almost family members.
They are
now.
family. Absolutely, they are part of the family. Yeah. So, and it's, occasionally you lose one, and then you got to find another one.
Well,
so
maybe people do have lives, and they go and have babies or move away or whatever. So you do sometimes have to start over, which is hard, right? So when you had to start over, and your dad has the Alzheimer's, was it difficult for him to make adjustments when he had a new caregiver?
Actually, for him, no, because I don't think he really remembers necessarily the aides that are there. He certainly doesn't remember the names, but the ones that have been there a long time, he recognizes them when they come in, and they know what he likes, they know what he wants. So it wasn't hard adding somebody new, but it was a matter of, I usually will keep one of the girls to train them a full day shift so they understand what needs to be done. Because with him, there's so much with medication. He's now on a pureed diet. He's on hospice. So there's so many different issues in his case. So it's very involved.
So does your dad have help around the clock?
24 hours.
24 hours every day.
Yeah. So either I'm there or the aides are there.
Okay.
And it's mostly aides because there's so much that they need to do that I'm not trained to do. So.
All right. So how comfortable are you? I know you live 5 minutes away, but how comfortable are you, if you have to work or you're going out of town, with your dad, with a caregiver in the house with an aide and nobody else is there. And do you still worry, or what's your comfort level?
I do worry a lot, and I hire a care manager to oversee the month. If I'm gone, when I take a month off on vacation, I hired a care manager to oversee it. So she does all the pills every week that I normally do, and she's there on an emergency basis if needed.
Okay.
So that's how I deal with it.
All right. So just in case people are listening and they're not familiar with what a care manager is, right? It's a professional, trained professional who technically is like your eyes and ears. They're there when you can't be there.
Absolutely. Most of the care managers are either social workers or nurses that are geriatric specialists that this is what they do for a living full time, and they're terrific.
So you almost have one like on retainer, like maybe you would an attorney, right? If you need them.
Yeah.
Because that way they're already familiar with your dad, with the situation. They've been there. They can check on them. And you kind of have them in your back pocket if you need them. Okay. So that's really important because if you're not there, again, your dad is in the hands of people that might not know what to do, or what would happen if the caregiver got sick and they couldn't show up, or they had a flat tire and they couldn't get to your dad's house. These are things I think people worry about.
And a lot of families are out of town, so a care manager can help with them because they're not there as people get worse.
Right. And we've had care managers on the show before and talked about them, but this is great because your situation encompasses everything. And even you mentioned earlier with the medical alert that you got your dad to wear one. Was he receptive to that?
I'm very lucky because he's very positive person, and he's not argumentative. At least now he's not. And he wore it without a problem. You put it on him and he would wear it until somebody took it off for bedtime. But he was fine with it. He didn't understand if he fell and it went off. He didn't really understand what was going on, but at least somebody else that was there would hear it and could deal with it.
Yeah, he was compliant because he probably said, Dad, here, you're going to wear this. And so he did, right? So, you've incorporated, your life's work in with your family. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to have some more true stories from Pam sharing about not only Life Alert and how it can help families, but also about her experiences as a adult child caregiver with dementia. We'll be right back.
Somewhere at the corner of bewildered and confused is a lost mother, a father, a sibling, a grandparent. Wandering is a common symptom of Alzheimer's or related dementias and can often make those who care for a loved one feel just as lost. If you're looking for a place that's safe and secure, look to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines.
You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
I'm talking with Pam Hapke. Pam is a wonderful person that helps a lot of people, and she is also the daughter of a dad who has had Alzheimer's for 20 years now.
Yep.
And you mentioned that that's a long time, and it really is a long time in the normal sequence of the length of Alzheimer's. 2 to 20 years that's what they say, but usually someone doesn't stretch it out to that 20-year mark, and they say the average is about 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, that's what they told me.
Yeah, that's what they told you, and here he is 20 years later almost. So can you talk a little bit about that, about the progression of the disease and maybe how things changed and how you as a family dealt with it?
Yeah, it was. His progression was actually pretty slow. Over time, you could see him getting a little worse and a little worse. He had a stroke, which hurt his mobility. But he actually seemed mentally better about a month after the stroke. And the neurologist, something funny, the neurologist told me that maybe the blood that had bled in his brain helped his brain work better. I don't know. That's what he told me. But he actually did seem a little better.
Wow.
My dad reads a lot, and the neurologist said, have him keep doing that because he felt that might be keeping him better. And he did things like he loved to garden. So we tried to, I was a little worried about him wandering, but he didn't seem to wander. He just liked to play in the garden. So he started edging between the flower beds and the grass, and he would slowly edge a little more, a little more, a little more, to the point where there's a foot of grass gone, and it's now all dirt, so he'd have to relay sod.
Well, that's
So
okay.
he
I
can
have a
do
neighbor
more.
who does that, and she doesn't have dementia at all. And she keeps, every time she edges, she gets further and further and puts more mulch, and now she has no grass left. So that, to me, doesn't sound so bad.
Oh, well, that was
I
him.
hope she's not watching this tonight because she knows who she is.
And he would do things like if there was a little straggly thing on a towel, he'd take a pair of scissors and start trimming the edges of the towel. So the towels start getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Micro towels. They actually, you can buy those, already done, micro towels now.
Yep. He used to enjoy a glass of wine with dinner. Well, with all the medication, his one doctor said, let him have a glass of wine. So if we had a bottle of wine, though, he would somehow find it and drink the whole bottle.
At one time?
In it like a day or two.
Okay.
Because he would forget he had a glass of wine. So we bought little bottles and started filling them, and I just put one out, and I hid the rest. We'd give him one a day, so he would get like 2 small glasses.
Okay, so you figured it out.
Yeah, you find little things to do. He's now on a pureed diet, so we have to puree all the food because of swallowing issues, so aspiration and swallowing.
So I want to touch on that for a second because a lot of people that have Alzheimer's end up having swallow problems because it's just their brain sometimes doesn't tell their mouth to chew and their esophagus to swallow, and they can get it down in the into their lungs of the aspiration, and so that's why a lot of people at the end have to go to a puree diet. How hard was that for him?
For him, he's okay with it. The only time if somebody else is eating by him, when I eat dinner with him, I have unpureed food, and he has pureed food. And initially he was like, well, why doesn't mine look like yours? And I said, well, I cut it up for you already. So he kind of accepted that. But it still tastes good to him.
Have you tried it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We basically make the same food, we just puree it.
So
in one of those NutriBullets.
In the blender.
A NutriBullet in a blender, it blends it up and purees it. So we puree the salad, put a little dressing in with it. He likes blue cheese. We put a little blue cheese salad. So he gets everything that he normally gets. For breakfast, he gets pureed fruit and a little yogurt with it.
Okay, well, that's what I make for smoothies.
And scrambled eggs, which they puree, so it's soft, with a little ham or sausage. So everything, he still gets all the same stuff, so it tastes the same, but it's all pureed. And that helps his swallowing. And he has, they have to give him thickened water as well.
And that's just something they put in it?
Well, actually, I buy pre-thickened water now. It's much easier. Much easier.
Yeah.
So.
And so at this point in his progression, is he still talking?
Yes.
Yes.
Not as much as he used to. I think he still recognizes me. And I got my parents a cat, which was a great thing for them, because that cat is with them all the time, and now he's by my dad's side. He lays and sleeps on his lap. So really kind of gives him a lot of comfort, I think. But he sleeps a lot more. He's on oxygen all night because of other issues as well. But, you can see the regression a little bit, little by little.
Yeah.
So when we talk to my brother on a video call or something, he thinks it's his brother because of the gray hair.
Okay.
And my brother kind of looks like his brother
Yeah.
years ago. So
when we talk about, you said he still recognizes you, and he probably does because, they see your face.
Because I'm there
and
almost
and
every
you're there,
day.
and he knows that you belong to him. He knows that you're his person, although he may not remember your name, or he might not even remember that you're the daughter, but he knows that you belong, together.
yeah. And he, my mom died about 2 years ago. We have dinner together every Saturday night, and I brought over a fish dinner, and he goes, "Is Marge," which was my mother, going to join us? So I had to explain, no, Mom passed away a couple years ago, and his first comment is like, "Why didn't I know that?
Why didn't you tell me?"
Why didn't I know that?" And I said, "Well, you probably forgot because it's not a very pleasant thing." And I changed the subject.
Okay.
So, and that's the only way. I don't want to lie to him, but I don't want to go into it that much that he gets upset. So, a quick answer and change the subject.
And when you changed the subject, he was distracted enough that he didn't bring
Yep.
it back up?
Yep.
Okay. And a lot of caregivers struggle with that. They struggle with what they call that therapeutic fib, telling them a lie because they don't want to tell them the truth.
Yeah.
Because they say every time you tell someone their spouse died, they're going to grieve all over again. And some families really don't want to tell that fib, like,
Yeah.
oh, she went to the beauty parlor or she's out shopping or whatever. But in your case, telling the truth and then letting him digest it for just long enough and then moving on. And I
Right.
think one of the best things you can do is have that distraction and talk about something else.
Yeah.
Because it will come up.
Yeah. And my mom's pictures are there, and he'll walk by, going to another room and see their wedding pictures and their 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
And, oh, she was so beautiful. He'll mention that, but then not bring it up. And every now and then at night, he'll wake up. When he wakes up, he'll say something. "Where's Marge?" to the caregiver that's there on the overnight shift. But not as much as I thought it would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
when your dad was first diagnosed up till now, did he have a major change in personality? Did he go from being one way to an extreme opposite, or did he kind of just have the same personality?
not an extreme change. He went through a more aggressive phase with my mom, and my mom told me she thinks that he probably had it for several years before he was diagnosed.
Which is usually the case.
Yes, and she said, "I'll know he's really bad when he puts his shoes in the freezer."
Okay.
So that was her
That's a
comment.
clue.
But he never did that. So,
Oh.
but he did other things. He would hide things. He wrapped up his denture plate in toilet paper and then ended up throwing it away. So there were a lot of little things that he did.
Mm-hmm.
The mail would disappear occasionally and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were lucky that he didn't wander. That was my biggest fear.
Yeah. Well, there's so much to learn, and it's a long road, and in your case, it's a very long road. But I want to thank you for sharing everything with us today. I know,
You're very
I know it's very
welcome.
personal, but you're such a wonderful, good-hearted person, and you know that your story is, helping somebody. There's somebody out there that
Yeah.
needed to hear what you had to say, and so if we can just help one person with what we share, then we've done a great job.
And I feel very blessed to be able to spend as much time as I have with them.
Yeah, and that's wonderful.
So.
I hope he continues to do well. Thank you
I
for
hope so.
sharing about the Easy Living Medical Alert and bringing all the props and explaining all that. And if you loved what Pam had to say or you want to talk to her, she is open to take your call, you can call her directly on her cell phone, 561-716-2682. Thank you, Pam, for being here today.
Thank you, Marcia. It was good to see you again.
It was great to see you too. Really appreciate you. And thank you for tuning in either on the internet or on the radio. We'll be back next week with another great program for you on caregiversolutions.info. So until then, take care and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marcia Teele. Join us next week as Marcia, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on caregiversolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions.